All right, so what is that? So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? I recently met someone, it was actually a gentleman, a nice gentleman, at one of the parks. Ouch. Good God almighty, ouch. One of the parks that I go to pretty frequently, here in Santa Barbara, in the county, I should say, not the city. And I remember he asked me some questions, just kind of like cursory questions about, like, what do you do? And, I answered him, I'm living in my car right now. And he looked at me and he looked very puzzled by this and said to me, why are you living in your car? And I didn't have an answer for that. Like right off the bat, I felt like the embarrassment of not having a plan, because I don't have a plan. I don't know what I'm doing. I do, but I don't have a plan is where I'm going with that. I don't have a plan. I don't know, like, there's a lot of things I don't know. There's a lot of question marks in my life. And, being comfortable, and like on a day-to-day basis, I'm very comfortable with those question marks. I don't trip out on it. Doesn't bother me. But I know that it bothers other people, and I know that it's difficult to have a lot of question marks and to not really have a plan. It can be embarrassing. It can be kind of like anxiety inducing and all of that. I get it. Like, I know that. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. I mean, I have like one friend in this whole world, and his body's dying, like he can't help me. Nor would I really want his help necessarily, even if he could. And I think that a lot of the time we press ourselves and we let the expectations of society press us to have a plan, when, like, the outline or structure of a plan that I could think of, like, say around finances. Okay, we'll get a job. Which is a terrible thing to say to an entrepreneur. Like, they just kind of go, what? Like, and that's what it does for me too. Or start a business. Okay, what business? Like, it stops right there, kind of thing. Like, I'm a very creative person, highly creative person, and yet I don't know. The businesses that I've had in the past, I've like stumbled into them. I wasn't really trying to start a business, and because I had a passion for whatever I stumbled into, any number of those different things, they were always very successful because it was coming from a place of that passion. Like, I wanted to do this, whatever that was. The last one was an art business, and the passion behind it was really what fueled it, was really what made it successful. And because when you love what you're doing, you're never working. You never feel that way. And so I was able to pour myself into it completely and not worry about it. I mean, people say, like, an art business. Yep. And I made decent money too. And all I did was fool around with art all day, every day. Like, that's all I did. All night. I would stay up all night doing projects. I mean, I ate, slept, and breathed art, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing it. And when it's like that, it seems to flow. And so, I'm finding myself in a situation right now, like when that gentleman asked me, why are you living in your car? And like, really what I should have said, which is not what I said to him. What I should have said was, I like freedom. I like my freedom. Frankly, I don't want to pay rent. pay a couple $1,000s a month rent to live in a tiny little box apartment with people above me, below me, on either side of me, complaining about Bella? Definitely not. That is not for me. Don't want to do that. And I've often thought about how I would go back to housing. And I'm not looking for, I'm not looking for obstacles. I've already got plenty of those. But, I'm not looking for further challenges. I'm not looking to, throw a monkey wrench into a situation that, I haven't yet made my mind up about. But, when, I like to be solution oriented. But like, truthfully, when I think about it, I'm like, how would I do that? Okay, so start a business. But then, like, living in this area, all my money would go to rent immediately. And getting a job would be even worse because, you're paying a significant amount of your income to taxes right off the bat. So, and it's practical things like that that stop me from doing those things because, genuinely, it doesn't make sense. I would be behind, I would be behind another 8 ball, so to speak. Like, I would be behind another set of challenges, and I am aware of what those are. And so that's why I don't just go and get a job or start a business. And, it's gotta be a practical plan, because I really cannot put myself into another situation where I don't know how I'm going to succeed. I have no idea. And it's not a smart thing to do anyhow. It's not only not smart, but it's not wise. And I've seen so many other people, as well as, done it to myself, where I, jump ahead and I go do this and that and the other thing, thinking that that's going to alleviate this one thing over here, when it actually piles on 10 more pounds of bullshit that I didn't have to deal with before if I had just been willing to deal with the circumstances, the difficulty in the circumstances I was in to begin with. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of like, getting a flat tire and going, oh my gosh, I have to go to the dealership, and going to the dealership and like financing a whole new car, because you're not willing to change the tire and like deal with the greasy hands and, that kind of thing. It's a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound is what it is. And so, I've often thought about, well, what about, and people have even mentioned it on this channel. There was one comment I remember that said, why don't you work your way across the United States and, live in an efficiency, like an efficient, but that kills my freedom. That kills it. I don't want to live in a tiny little box. I'd rather live in a tiny little car and go where, if I had to make the choice between the two, between a car and freedom outside, or living in a tiny little box apartment that I can't move around, and I'm like, stuck, and I have to pay a ginormous amount of rent, and even paying, $500 for a tiny little crap apartment that I don't like, that I don't want to be in, that, is around a bunch of other people that don't want to be where they are. That's soul killing. That's just soul killing right there. Like, it's like, yeah, no, I'm asking for soul sickness doing that, and I know that about myself. So, it takes a certain amount of bravery to, climb out on a limb and not know where, how, what, when. Don't know. But, I understand my options as well as I possibly can, what is available to me right now. And I don't see any of them as, they're not incentives to do any of them. I don't have any incentive to go, work a 9-to-5 job, or, what am I going to do with Bella? I've got Bella with me. I can't just, go work all day. Where am I going to leave her? In the car? That doesn't work, especially during the summer. Like, I can't just leave her in the car. And there's all kinds of, considerations like that, but mainly her is a huge consideration. Okay, we'll get a job where you can have her with you. Okay, what job is that? Those are few and far between. And then, like, get a job that has a significant amount of pay, a significant enough amount of pay, which I know, like, I don't mind working with people, like, that's not an issue, but working for someone else, it would really depend on the it would really depend on the, on the rate of pay, and it would also depend on my employer enormously, you know. But, again, how am I going to get ahead if I'm paying a significant amount of taxes on that paycheck to begin with? And then on top of that, like, I have to make all these other concessions for working for someone, when really that's never been my drive. So I always thrive much and do much better when, I can take the incentive because it's either my idea or it's my flat out my business, and I can do whatever I want with it. So, not to say that I'm not disciplined. I am an incredibly disciplined person. However, when you can when you can act on your, you can initiate actions and choices without having to consult, a whole like management team or something like that. It frees up a lot of your like ability to move in ambition and the passion that you have for that particular field that you're working in. 11:11 on the timer. So, so I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I have no plan. I don't really have any fallback. I don't really have money saved, and, I don't really have any friends or family. I don't have any friends or family to ask support of, either monetary support or otherwise. Santa Barbara is not an inexpensive place to live, so I have to be very resourceful and wise about, how I spend my time, how I spend my energy, and how I spend my money. And I've often thought about, like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? Like, what's next? In other words, what am I doing next? And I still don't have an answer for that. I'm still genuinely waiting on the Lord. And I know, and not just sitting around like waiting. I'm not just sitting around waiting. That's not what I'm doing. I keep myself busy. I keep myself physically fit. I eat as well as I can. Frankly, I'd rather not eat most of the food that is available to me than eat. God bless food pantries. God bless them. And I know that they serve like a real need in communities. However, most of the food pantries that I've been to in the last couple months it's just crap food. And honestly, I would rather just not eat. I would rather fast than eat crappy food. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, and it's not always the case, but genuinely, I just, food's important. And I love to cook. Oh my God, I love to cook. So not having a kitchen, not having a bathroom, things like that, like they can wear on you, and people will look at your situation and be, they are, mortified for you kind of thing. And they're just utterly confused, like this gentleman that I was trying to explain myself to, which I rarely try to explain myself to anyone. However, I could tell that he was just confused by, like, why are you doing this? Oh, excuse me. Oh. And I did, do a modicum of explaining myself to this person. Oh. Pardon me, excuse me. And at the same time, I realized that, it's the vision that I have is so big that I really can't sit in a Belle. I see you. Relax, boo. I cannot explain it in a 10-15 minute, cursory conversation with a stranger who knows nothing about me. It's just, it's virtually impossible. If I tried to fit it into, some kind of like public speaking format, that might work. But I would really have to think about, what I was going to say and that kind of thing.
Okay? Like this.
So that, so that I could put it into, like a cohesive and baboo. Oh God, her mohawk's going. And coherent, kind of like monologue or statement that people would understand, because I don't think most people would understand what I'm doing or what I've been doing. Another thing about freedom is, there's a significant amount of joy involved in my everyday life. And no way, and peace as well, peace, that I am not willing to compromise for anything at all. Like, no one and nothing am I willing to compromise that for. And that has been, oh, you're so pretty. That has been an ongoing consideration when I think about what the next step is am I going to have to compromise my peace or Bella's peace for a new situation, or say it was like a massive upgrade in our living situation. Well, but would it be, though? Because quality of life is not necessarily connected to where you're living. It's just not. So and life is life wherever you go. I mean, I've been all over the western part of the United States, and life is just life wherever you go. It just is. And life is really what you make of it. It 100% is. And it's 100% about your attitude about it too. So, now that I've got the attitude nailed down, and, because it takes people a lot of people, it takes them a lifetime to figure out the things that I figured out in a very short amount of time. And, a lot of people spend a significant amount of their portion of their life, frustrated, unfulfilled, not joyful. And, that it's like a virus, man. It spreads to the people around you, like, quickly and very efficiently, like more efficiently than you ever wanted it to. Like, misery definitely likes company, and it, unless you make yourself like misery proof kind of thing, it's very easy to fall into the trap of stagnation and just an overall, like, kind of feeling of heaviness, and and you might be able to get rid of that, if you go on vacation for a short amount of time, but it will come back. It will come back. And unless you really have a firm foundation for your soul to rest on, for mine, it's my personal faith. And, but that's very much connected to being outside and being free, to do as we please, to, hang out all day in the car if I want to, with my dog, which, you would think she really minds doing, but she doesn't, because I keep it fun. It's fun. We go out for walks. Wow, she didn't even hear me when I said the W word just now. She's really focused on this dog that's gonna walk by here. And and finding joy in the little things is not something that most people can do. I mean, they try, and it might work for a time, and then they lose it again. And I've spent the last 2 years making significant efforts, like making it of paramount importance to find the joy in the little things, and to be grateful for everything that we have, even grateful for things that people would not think to be grateful for. I mean, the time living in my car, I'm enormously grateful for it, because it's taught me, like, who I really am, what I really want, what's really important to me, how to get those things even when I have virtually nothing. I don't need a lot of resources in order to make myself happy. That's not what I need. That's not what I've needed. And so when you realize you can make yourself not just happy, but joyful with so little, you know what that could look like, what that would look like if you had a whole lot more. And that's an inspiring thought, for me too. And I hang on to that, because a lot of people, they have, exponentially more than I do, as far as resources, and yet they're miserable. They're just miserable, and that sucks. That's not a good place to be. So, I've implemented these things so deeply in my life. I know I could teach them to other people if they were willing to learn. And it's very simple stuff. None of it's complicated. You don't need any equipment to do it. You don't really even need any money. You don't need any, the only resource you really need is yourself. And when you pare things down and make them exceptionally simple like that, it tends to resonate with people, and people start seeing, if that person can do so much with so little, what could I do with everything that I have? Well, that's a legitimate question to ask oneself. It truly is. So, especially living in such an affluent area, I mean, there's a lot of very wealthy, way over, upper class type, income brackets around me. And yet, most of them are miserable people. They're miserable, and they're consistently miserable people throughout most of their lives. And that sucks. That is not a good place to be. I do not envy them in the slightest. If I had to trade, all the resources in the world for, my peace, that is not a fair trade. No way. Nope. I mean, if I had to make the choice, I'd rather be, living in the dirt and be happy as a clam than, have everything in the world and be miserable. Fuck that. And knowing that about yourself is a brave thing to find out, because it's not easy. It's not easy, and people will look at you and they'll scorn you and they'll make fun of you, and they set you apart, but not in a good way, kind of thing. And you really have to be brave, and solitary is a very solitary life for me. It's not lonely, but it is solitary. And deciding and not just making the choice about what's best for myself, but sticking by it and not bending, not wavering on that. It's hard. It's not easy. And I've said before in this channel, I don't always I rarely do things the easy way. However, would I like our life to be more convenient, more comfortable, and a little easier? Yeah, I would. Fuck yeah, I would love that. And at the same time, I'm very clear with myself about, what I'm willing to compromise on that. And the fact of the matter is, I can compromise a lot of things, but I will not compromise myself. I will never do that again. That's just not something I'm willing to do. I spent most of my life doing that, and it only ever made me a miserable person. I compromised my values. I compromised my time. I compromised all kinds of things. But I was never compromising with people or things that wanted to compromise with me. They just wanted to compromise me to get what they wanted out of me. And, for many, many years and even decades of my life, I didn't recognize it for that. And so I thought that compromising myself was compromising with people. And the fact of the matter is, none of those people, none of them, were compromising with me. They were just happy to compromise me. And sometimes themselves. But that's because they didn't care about themselves any more than I cared about myself at that time in my life. And, people who don't value themselves will compromise themselves. And I'm simply not willing to do that anymore. Like, never again. No more. So, if you find yourself in a place in life where you have no plan, in that, is kind of not a source of embarrassment, but you understand why people are puzzled by it. And, it puzzles me. Like, I don't know. I know that the right things will present themselves in rapid succession when that time comes, and I'll be ready, willing, and able to grab those opportunities with both hands and not compromise myself in order to have them. I know that. I know that much. I know that I'm more ready now and more confident and stronger and wiser and more apt to seize good opportunities than to just seize any opportunity. there's a certain kind of desperation, I think, that rests with people who don't have a plan and who don't have much resources. You know, we're kind of, I think people in general, humans in general, are programmed to seize any opportunity, especially when things look not so good from the outside. You know, I don't think that anybody looking at my life from the outside could really understand how rich of a life that I lead. They wouldn't see it. They would be like, you live in your car. I'd be like, yeah, but I have everything I need. Pretty much. I have almost everything I need all the time. And I don't worry. I'm not concerned. I'm joyful. I have a lot of fun. I get to see new places all the time. There's a lot of really positive things about our life, me and Bella's life. And not only that, but I've been able to heal so many physical ailments that I was really suffering from before I took the time to slow down and smell the flowers, so to speak, you know. But it can feel, I do feel this, you know, this sense of like lack of direction. And I also do, and I feel that it's significant. And at the same time, I don't stress myself on it. I'm not going to let that erode my peace of mind. I'm not going to let it happen. And there, you know, when somebody asks me, well, what is your plan? Or, well, why are you doing that? You know, it's not always an easy question to answer. But knowing what your answer is, even if you're not explaining it to other people, because, like, why explain it to other people? For the most part, they don't deserve an explanation, first of all. And second of all, they probably wouldn't understand it even if you did try to explain it to them. So make sure that you know why you're doing things, and you know why you're not doing other things. Like, make sure that that's a clear perspective in your mind. Otherwise, it can be anxiety inducing to not have a plan and to not be able to explain to other people, like, why you're doing what you're doing, or why you're not doing what you're not doing. 27 on the timer. So, you know, take the time to be patient with yourself, be compassionate, and just, you know, slow down and enjoy things, you know, while you can. Because, you know, you never know. The next day, you might be presented with, you know, a whole rapid succession of opportunities that you don't get to rest again for a while. And so, you know, enjoy the moment. Sit in the moment. Take some deep breaths, you know, meditate, do whatever it is that you do. For me, it's the Lord. For me, it's meditating on the Word. For me, it's prayer. For me, it's physical exercise. And when I have access to good food, it's good food. I love good food. And hanging out with my dog. You know, it's some good medicine is dog. Dog is good medicine. I prescribe dog for you. You know, nature and dog. Yeah, that's what you need. You know, and sleep. You know, there's so many things that we can do to alleviate our own suffering and the suffering of others. When we take the time to slow down and make sure that we're doing the things that we know are good for us. Exercise, sleep, eating right, taking proper supplements, vitamins, if we're not, you know, able to get all of that in our food. Hanging out with people and animals that we love in places that, you know, we feel safe and comfortable, and that are, you know, stunningly beautiful, in my humble opinion. So it's things like that, you know, that we can sidestep and even prevent whole areas of issues, like literally dis-ease, and even more serious than that, like soul sickness, that is just like a killer. I mean, you know, I understand all of the medical and physiological reasons for people to get depressed, but, like, I also understand that when you implement certain fundamental things, like sleep, proper nutrition, exercise, and like loving, fulfilling relationships, you're not going to get depressed. So you won't have to deal with that. So it's a preventative measure. And as far as health, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, Those things are exceptionally important to understand about oneself. And like, for the most part, most humans are the same. We need exercise, we need love, we need sleep, and we need proper nutrition. We don't, and to also eliminate as many toxins in our environment as possible. And like, those are actually pretty simple things to do. Not always. I understand that sometimes it can be excruciatingly challenging to just have the simple things. And yet, most of the time in our lives, maybe we're not able to eliminate this and that and the other thing, but we can eliminate 10 other things that are really bad for us. And so by doing that, we can alleviate our own suffering. And when we can alleviate our own suffering, we can certainly do it for other people. And so I guess my point is just stay brave, stay strong, and, make sure that you're using your downtime to strengthen yourselves for the opportunities that are most certainly coming your way. And also, you may have to produce your own opportunities. Just make sure that you're using your downtime to strengthen yourself so that when you do have to, hit the ground running and, make those opportunities show up for yourself, that you're ready for them. And that you won't just crash and burn, because burnout, that's a real thing. That's very real. And a lot of people experience it. So, strengthen yourself, stay brave. I know it's not easy. I'm totally alone out here. I'm physically alone out here. And it takes a lot of bravery, a lot of courage for me to continue doing what I'm doing until I figure out what I'm going to do next. So, see your downtime as opportunity. Maybe you're unemployed like me. Maybe you're, kind of like struggling to see the purpose in your life right now. Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. And at the same time, use that struggle as an opportunity to build yourself up in the areas that you were probably weak in before. Make yourself stress proof, make yourself unshakable, make yourself, be like Bruce Lee says, be like water, my friends. Water can flow or it can crash. Be like water. Be that versatile person. If you want to get married, make sure that you are the person that you would like to marry. Make sure that you're honorable, make sure that you're full of integrity, make sure that you're honest. And that starts with providing those things for yourself. Because when you can provide it for yourself, like, while doing the hokey pokey, spinning backwards, in zero gravity, with blindfolded, with one hand tied behind your back, then you can do it for someone else. You can show up in the world for someone else. You can be a good friend. That you can be an excellent employee. I think somebody bit me. No. Those kinds of things. Make sure you're ready to show up. So that when those opportunities present themselves, you have the utmost confidence that you can do it. So, see things as opportunities. I know it doesn't always feel that way, but the great thing about feelings is that you can't always trust them. You can't always trust the way you feel. Especially if it's a fleeting feeling, inconsistent. You might feel really angry in the moment, but that doesn't mean you're an angry person. Take the time to bulletproof yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, because things that come up, especially in these times, it's no joke. Like, things hit and they hit hard. It's like linebacker stuff. I mean, you really got to make sure that you are unshakable. It's not a joke. And if you truly want to be successful, you have to be enamored with that success mindset. Like, so much so that it's second nature to you. So make sure that you're maturing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in all of the ways that you maybe were weak before. And I'm pretty sure that would lead to success. I know it has for me. I know it will for me. So Keep at it, keep plugging away. Don't ever give up, never surrender. Never surrender, never. Never give in, never surrender. And when you're feeling down and when you're having those moments of doubt, use it. Use it. All right, why am I doubting this? What is it that's making me doubt this? Is it really how other people view it? Or is it how I view it? Or is it the waiting? Because waiting can definitely make you doubt things sometimes. Patience, being patient, can make you doubt things. Use it. You know, use it as fuel. Use it as fuel to, you know, if you're doubting something, well, dig in there and find out why you're doubting that. Why am I doubting this? Well, because this is how it looks. All right, but that's not what it really is. That may be how it looks, but that's not what it really is. And go down, you know, write it down if you need to. But the thought or exercise is often good enough for me. But, you know, write it down if you need to. You know, why am I feeling this way right now? You know, like dive into that. Don't avoid it. Like dive into it. Figure out why. So, you know, anything that comes at you as kind of negative, use it as an opportunity to build up that area that is weak, you know, and you know, take the time to sit with it and think about it, mull it over. You're worth it. Anyway, I hope this video finds you blessed. Love, blessings, and compassion to everyone, as always. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Peace be with you.